Welcome to another bite, a BackChat Bite. The more that you read, the more that you know. The more that you know, the more places that you will go. And it's so true. So why isn't our school curriculum reflecting this? Mile up wide, but only an inch deep. It's a phrase I'm commonly hearing from people. There's just too much. There's way too much, unfortunately, for the majority of children to learn. As I discuss in one of my episodes, children's brains have desperately changed over the last decades. With our cost of living crisis, both parents working, and the IT epidemic, we have a screen time epidemic. Children are just not getting what they needed, and as a result, their brains have changed. Let's look at our latest literacy results. Poor. Let's look at our latest maths results. Poor again. So when I saw Di Farmer, our education minister, talking about how so many more children are getting A's in school for English, I was kind of wondering what school she was referring to, because people I'm talking to are not reflecting that from their schools. Teachers I'm talking to, parents I'm talking to. Is she referring to the fortunate little ones? And I'm only saying this because I see them all the time on the news. At Milton State School, I always wondered why they never went into a disadvantaged school to announce this multi-million-dollar funding or this amazing new maths program. But of course they can't, because none of the politicians' children go there for starters. But also, let's face it, it wouldn't look very good to have someone, running through the school while the media is there cursing and screaming at the top of their lungs. But back to the issue with our school curriculum. Let's look at our little ones in areas of extreme disadvantage. The children in our lowest performing schools. These kids have no access to specialist help. They have no access to the specialist level kind of help that we see helps lives at the BackChat clinic. These children have no access to therapists with experience. They are relying on a system which is overworked. And not all, but many of these children are living in extremely impoverished homes filled with neglect, domestic violence. Sometimes parents have drug and alcohol issues. These children are not being read to. These children are not being read with. They're not being talked to. Their basic emotional needs and mental needs are not being met. So why are these children drawing family trees? Why are these children learning about Australia? Many of these children have not left their suburb. They've never been to the beach. They've never been camping. They don't know what bounce is. They've never had a swimming lesson or a dance lesson in their life. And to people out there, they might go, oh, seriously, children like that do not exist. But I can guarantee you that they absolutely do. And in fact, during the school holidays in my clinic, I took a group of children, a group of very disadvantaged children, to bounce. And it was the best day out of their lives. They talked about it for so long before it that it made me so tearful. And my own children who go to bounce at least once every 2 weeks were horrified that these children have never been to bounce, never been to the beach, never been fishing, never been camping. These children who are not getting everyday life experiences. Yet we're pushing this heavily loaded curriculum onto them. It's no wonder we have such an increasing gap between the haves and the have-nots. These kids don't know what a surfboard is. They don't know what the museum is. They don't know what the aquarium is. How are they meant to be able to read it, to comprehend it, to write it, and use it in a sentence if they have no comprehension of basic life experiences? And with the increasing disadvantage we're seeing, it's not just children in typically disadvantaged areas. We're seeing more and more typically advantaged areas. We're seeing more and more kids who are coming from struggling homes in those areas too. And as the cost of living increases, we're seeing more of this. As parents cut out swimming lessons, dance lessons, music lessons, as parents pick up more work to pay for the rising cost of everything, our children are missing out on basic brain stimulation, experiences that build their brain, basic talk, that most basic stimulation that Harvard University talks about for our young ones. It's so critical for developing brains. More and more children being pushed into a vulnerable state because of the cost of living. 5 years ago, at a point in my career where I was working part-time to raise my own 3 boys, I had a toddler. My little Mr. 12 now was 7, and I was working really hard with him through his struggles to read. And my eldest, Jake, who I've spoken a lot about on social media, I was working really hard with him to get him through grade 12. My own two boys, my 12-year-old and Jake, both had very severe struggles, very different developmental struggles, but I worked really hard with both of them. I approached the government, I approached paediatricians, I approached MPs, and I approached some departments and a top researcher here in Brisbane because I wanted to try and get change happening for disadvantaged kids here in Queensland. I wanted to see if what we were doing at the BackChat Clinic, giving kids access, giving kids opportunity, giving them great intervention, getting them into top specialists for children who had neurodevelopmental conditions like ADHD and autism. If we could get the advantage back into the disadvantage, I really wanted to change the game. But I was told no. A university said to me, and I quote, "This is not such a big problem as it would be financially viable." But I'll talk about that in another podcast. You have to hear it to believe it. But I'm talking more and more to teachers telling me there are children struggling in schools so much they will never catch up. One teacher told me at least 25% of children in a grade 2 class cannot read and will never read. She needs at least 5 full-time teacher aides in her class for those kids to have a chance. One high school maths teacher in a very disadvantaged area told me she's got so many children in her grade 7 cohort who cannot do grade 3 basic level maths. She would have to take them out of the curriculum and start right back at the beginning to catch them up. But unfortunately, there's no allowances within the curriculum for this to happen. And she was basically told to, and I quote, F off by the parents when she called to ask for some help from them. Another teacher who's told me that 4 children in one stream at her school exhibiting extreme behaviours at school, basically ruling the school, disrupting classroom learning, are at such risk they can't be sent home. Another teacher I know is a regular runner in her local neighbourhood. She's often seen chasing kids up the school, mobile phone in one hand, on the phone to the police, while she's waving and yelling at the kids, the little ones who've left. Again, little ones where home is not a safe place. There's no consequences and these teachers can't do anything. One teacher has told me the range and breadths of names that she's called in the playground. I'm not talking about the SH word either. I'm talking about you fat effing C by children in prep in grade 1 and grade 2. Home is not a safe place for these children, but they're under the watch of the department. These kids have no access to anything to help them. I don't think Queenslanders believe that youth disadvantage is not a problem and that youth crime is not a problem and that our disadvantaged children are not a problem. I don't think that Queenslanders, or indeed people across Australia, don't think that the number of disadvantaged kiddies that we are seeing is not a problem. We're extremely concerned with poverty. We're extremely concerned with disadvantage and how it will impact on our society for generations to come. This is not just an issue for our generation. This will impact on future society for generations to come if we don't do something about it. Why are we introducing millions of different concepts to children who cannot read? They can't retain basic information enough to read. They don't know their colours. They don't know their parents' name. They've never been on holidays or to a beach, yet we expect them to read a mile wide but only an inch deep. Our curriculum needs to change and shift for the current student population that we have. Thank you for listening to Conversations with Olwen. If you know somebody who needs to hear this episode today, please share it with them. Until next time.